Week 6, Thinking Out Loud, Lecture 2.2. All the world's a stage, from the Greeks through Shakespeare to Man and Superman. In 1516, when Sir Thomas More wrote his classic and eponymous novel, Utopia, he coined a term that had been and may forever remain in dispute and subject to confusion. In fact, there is no such word as utopia. The Greek words were either utopia, which means not place, or eutopia, which means good place or true place. And then there's dystopia, which definitively means bad place. More left the O and the E off of the word, coining utopia to leave it as ambiguous as most people think it is. He left off the defining vowels O or E so that readers of this well-camouflaged description of an encounter between Europeans and North American indigenous peoples could make up their own minds if the world he described was truly desirable or not. A powerful argument can be made that in context, humanity as a whole isn't as far away from utopia as we might think. The insights of Yuval Harari, Sapiens, Homo Deus, 21 Lessons from the 21st Century, and Robert Wright, The Evolution of God, suggest that there has actually been more progress than regression in the pursuit of a better world, despite media to the contrary. But it takes deep deconstruction in context to see where the springboards are and where the pitfalls are. This lecture looks at the world stage and suggests that while individual movements and locations may have missed their mark, the world system as a whole has assimilated and incorporated best practices and elements that make it ever more likely sustainability can and will occur at the macro scale. Storytelling through literature and theatrical performance have been venerable ways of thinking out loud about the human condition. And while utopian literature did not exist strictu sensu among the ancient Greeks, says Rosanna Lariola on page 111, many of the playwrights used their theatrical medium to challenge the status quo and posit improvements through the use of imagination. Aristophanes, the most prolific of the playwrights, used this trope several times, writing works for public performance in corrupt post-Peloponnesian War Athens, in which, quote, the protagonist of the play, the so-called comic hero, devises a fantastic plan which proves the poet's inexhaustible imagination. To give a few examples, both of the unlimited imagination that determines the comic plot and of its link with the current reality, when the war has become tiresome and intolerable and the civic assembly did not want to listen to the good reasons for making peace, Decapolis, one of the best-known Aristophanic heroes, makes a private treaty with the enemy in the comedy Acarnanians, and Trigius, another well-known Aristophanic hero, flies to heaven on a beetle in order to free and bring down on earth the goddess Peace that has been imprisoned by war in the comedy Peace. Then both heroes celebrate the achieved peace with a banquet characterized by abundance of tasty dishes and wine, which recall the motif of the land of plenty. As such, indeed, the prospective world at peace is pictured. If Athens itself has become tiresome, Paisteros and Euripides, the other main Aristophanic characters, decide to run away and build a new city in the sky, which is then celebrated through an abundant banquet as well in the comedy Birds. And if the living poets are inadequate, incapable of providing Athenian people with inspirational and educative plays, Dionysus, another Aristophanic protagonist, undertakes a trip into the underworld in order to find and take back an old poet in the comedy Frogs. These very few and concise examples of Aristophanes' plots shows a utopian tone in that the alternative plan for overcoming the problem and reaching a perfect status belongs to the realm of the imagination, and nowhere, that is, utopia with a U, can it be realized. End quote, Lariola, page 116.